Welcome in Monday morning edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you today. We'll talk some football. Lane Kiffin spoke to Alex Scarborough of ESPN. We'll go over that a little bit. We'll talk about spring practice as it enters week 2. Here this week, we have a Final Four set that no one predicted, literally. They're out the country and all the brackets. We'll get into that a little bit toward the end of the show. We'll obviously go into that some as the week moves on as well.
I wonder if anybody in the whole entire country had 3 of the 4.
Probably not. I don't know the answer to that, but
I wonder how many in the country had 2 of the 4.
No 1 seeds, no 2 seeds, no 3 seeds.
Yeah, I mean, crazy.
It's
interesting. We'll get into it all week.
Yeah, you're fine.
But I didn't get to see a lot of basketball over the weekend because I was driving. But yesterday, as the Miami-Texas game ended, and I guess that was Nance on that call.
I don't know. Honestly.
Whoever it was okay. Like, hey, it's going to be these new people, and that's okay. You could already hear the TV people kind of doing the, hey, the truth is America likes brands.
We do. We like brands.
We sort of want that Saturday to be Duke and Carolina.
We want Cinderella
and
to hit midnight on the second weekend.
Yeah.
Get through the first weekend. That's cool.
We love Cindy showing up at the Sweet 16, but we like her to disappear
home.
at that point. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw it on Twitter. I think it was Corey Keys. Ken Palm is who really benefits from this tournament because I saw where, yeah, sure, it's names that we are not familiar with being in Final Fours. Obviously, San Diego State or Florida Atlantic is going to play for the national title. They'll play the winner of UConn and Miami. The Ken Palm end of regular season rankings, however, though, for the final 5 teams remaining in the field, UConn 1, Texas 5, San Diego State 14, FAU 17, Miami 26. I mean, obviously not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but not like they're chopped liver either.
No, he's really good. And the net ratings were pretty close to that too. It's kind of it's kind of a validation.
Take the uniforms off and
well, now look, San Diego State all year.
We'll get after
they will defend your ass.
Yeah. And Joey said a lady he works with got 2 of the 4. If somebody got 3 of the 4, it's the one where they pick the brackets off the colors or the mascots, or when you call your mom, was it?
I mean, I can see someone picking Connecticut to make the Final Four.
Oh, sure, easily.
They were playing really, really well.
Miami can be trendy.
Miami, and they're good, but nobody picked San Diego State, and nobody picked FAU. And the fact that either FAU or San Diego State will play for the national title a week from tonight is remarkable.
Yeah.
And one of them will.
Yeah. So Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford, Blue Sky locations. Remember, they're giving away box seats to Ole Miss baseball games. Next series at home, Arkansas, in a couple weeks. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the Saturday game is where you can enter to win. To get those tickets for that game, use hashtag RebelReady. You at the Oxford Exxon, you put your message in. They'll pick a winner. Give away some box seats to Swayze Field for the Rebels and the Razorbacks here coming up. Lunch specials. Plenty of different items, 49-cent fill-ups from your soft drinks and much more. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. The dealership was not harmed in the storm over the course of the weekend. So, but keep in mind that a lot of those people there probably were impacted by what happened, but they'll still be right there wanting to be your car guy, wanting to be your truck guy because they are fantastic at what they do. We've had a very busy car month in our house with just stuff with cars, and Corey and the people at Clark Ford have been great. They'll be great for you as well. 662-257-1900. Guest will join at some point this week on the MyPerfectFranchise.net hotline. If you're a displaced corporate executive, you're wanting to put your career in your own hands. If you're an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify, Andy Ludicky can help. Andy's a longtime Rivals board member, a diehard college football fan, a franchise veteran. He owns multiple franchises and businesses, uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You've got nothing to lose. MyPerfectFranchise.net, Andy at MyPerfectFranchise.net, or you can call Andy at 404-973-9901.
Yeah, thanks for the text. Twitter mentions things from people over the course. I was not even aware of the storms till I woke up the next morning. Had a lot of mentions at that point. From a family standpoint, there's some property damage with some people, but everyone that is family with me is safe. That is in Amory at this point. But a lot of damage to the high school. The facilities were just demolished, and then went through several residential areas where roofs and different issues were there. So a lot of work to be done. Also, obviously, in Rolling Fork, where they took massive damage over the course of town down south there as well. So appreciate with that. They're doing a lot of drives. I saw Oxford was doing one this week. Have some Amory flavor there with a couple coaches and AD and whatnot. So wherever you are, there's ways to help if you are so inclined to do that. Yeah, we'll get into baseball. We'll get into football. We'll get into some stuff. The basketball thing, though, it was a great day yesterday. If you're just trying to watch basketball, you've got San Diego State winning on a free throw with 1.2 seconds left on a foul that was somewhat reminiscent of the way the Super Bowl ended.
So I listened to that game driving, and it was a fascinating listen because as you start the game, I'm like, I don't know who plays for Creighton. I don't know who plays for San Diego State. So they're saying names, and I'm like, well, which dude? And
which team is that?
And who? I guess it was Harlan on the call. He's amazing.
He's awesome.
I think he started thinking to himself, you know what? I've got people listening to me, and they don't know who these people are, and I'm going to have to say Williams of Creighton.
And he started naming team with player.
Yeah. And it's helped me so much. And so by the second half rolled around, I sort of knew who was who. And then they got to that call, and in the call, they basically explained that whoever the analyst was really good. And he explained, hey, look, that was the right call. You hate for it to get called in that moment, but it was a foul. And when you watch the replay, and I still haven't seen the replay, when you see the replay, it is a foul. And
it is a foul. It affected nothing. It did not.
He would have missed the shot anyway.
I do not think it had any impact on the play. My opinion. Could be wrong. People in the stream can argue with me all you want to. I get why it was called. By textbook definition, it was a foul. I get it. You shouldn't punish the offense because there's 1 second left on the clock when you need to call a foul.
Right.
However, no, it did not. It did not change anything at all. It was, not really. I would not have called it. Now, I'm weird like that. I admit it. It's not the right way to go about it. I would not have thrown the flag in the Super Bowl. Like, just saying. If thing is not impacted at that point, I'm not deciding the game on that. And I also, look, I actually only know people who went to San Diego State. Eric Winter went to San Diego State, former head of Rivals.com. I actually know several people who went to San Diego State. I don't know a soul who went to Creighton at all. But I found myself pulling for Creighton during the game for a reason that I have no understanding of whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I did. As I'm watching, I'm going, yeah, Blue Jays. Okay, cool, sweet.
I just didn't really care. I've kept up with Greg McDermott over the years, the coach at Creighton, because his son Doug played in the NBA for a while. But I didn't have any. I didn't have any.
You weren't losing sleep that night over San Diego State and Creighton. But
no, I mean, I just had no. I had no rooting interest, and so listening to it was kind of interesting. I actually, when I started listening to it, I'm like, I'm not going to stay with this. I'm going to go to something different. But I did. I kind of stayed with it, and by the end, it was, well, it's one hell of a game.
Were you pulling for Miami or Texas? Miami 88-81, really tight. Miami kind of pulled away in the final minute there. It was tied with a minute to go.
For some reason, I have had a little bit of a soft spot for Jim Larinaga for years.
Oh.
And so I sort of cheered for Miami.
Okay.
But I didn't care. Had Miami not won, I was going to get over it in about.
I was just still.
I came home intending to come up here and work on 10 thoughts and turn the game on. And then I didn't at all. I am on thought number 8 this morning. I will have 10 thoughts published fairly soon today. But I ended up just kind of watching the rest of that game. And it was, I don't know, I caught myself cheering for Miami, and I have no reason why.
I don't like their uniforms, and it makes them kind of pull against them because you're looking for reasons. Like, I got nothing. or whatever.
And Texas is a
and
good
I was
story.
enjoying Chris Del Conte's what had to be going on in his mind of, I have to hire this guy if he keeps winning. And
It looks like he's going to hire him anyway.
does it really?
Yeah. There's reports that's getting done.
Really? You wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't. Now, I don't know whether they've been turned down a couple of times privately. Lawyer Mike says, Neal, my wife to be and I were traveling to Northwest Arkansas this past weekend. I turned on the podcast and she said she hated it, meaning the podcast. What should I do? I mean, it's not too late. Wife to be is not wife. Might be a sign. You should run for the hills.
Creighton has an interesting history sort of in basketball. I mean, obviously McDermott's been there for a while now, but two of their three coaches prior to that were Dana Altman and Willis Reed.
Yeah.
Willis Reed coached it.
Yeah.
Creighton for a little while there.
Because he got Benoit Benjamin out of Monroe to go to Creighton. Mm-hmm. Willis Reed's a North Louisiana guy.
I give you credit. You expanded my basketball knowledge, I guess over the weekend or whenever you said this. You made a post, and I read it, and then I had no idea what you're talking about, which was the point guard from ULM back in the day. I had to look her up.
Unjung Lee?
Yeah, her. I had never heard of that name whatsoever, and I got down a little bit of a rabbit hole with, I guess at that point, she was Northeast Louisiana, the Indians, but...
There was a doubleheader at Louisiana Tech. We will get off this quickly.
I promise I'm moving on.
I promise. There was a doubleheader at Louisiana Tech when the men played at 5 o'clock. Karl Malone played for the men. They played against McNeese. Joe Dumars played for McNeese. It was a hell of a college basketball game.
Dumars and Malone.
It was a hell of a college basketball game. If I recall, Tech won by 1 or 2 points. The arena had to be cleared because following that, the women, the Lady Texters, played what was then Northeast Louisiana, NLU, which is now ULM.
Right.
And that place was jam-packed to the gills. Intensity. Kim Mulkey, Unjung Lee, all of those people. Incredible.
Okay. We'll do plenty of basketball, but you got UConn winning. They're the best team.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what UConn did to Arkansas and then what UConn did to Gonzaga.
Their closest game's 15 points, I think.
I don't know how anybody beats them. Like, everybody started making fun of Arkansas the other day, and I was like, did you guys watch that game? That had nothing to do with Arkansas. That had everything to do with UConn, and then they turn around and do the exact same thing to the Zags, and you're like, see?
They just ran through Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga has had a hard time the last 2 years bouncing back on that second game. They expend so much energy in the first game of the weekend. You know, they did it against the other day against UCLA. Last year, they kind of got to the final, but just had nothing left. Last time they were there. They've just kind of struggled, and teams do. It's not unique to Mark Few and Gonzaga, but nonetheless, that was...
It should surprise no one, by the way, that Kim Mulkey, the basketball player, was as intense a basketball player as you will ever see in any sport.
She hasn't lost it.
Not even a little bit, but it is the coaching intensity that you see from her is not made up.
She dressed fairly normally last night.
She was scrappy.
She did not go all Queen of Sparkles last night. She looked pretty normal in her attire. I watched a minute of their win over Miami last night.
They had 2 point guards at Tech, Jennifer White and Kim Mulkey, and it was like the big argument in Ruston, like who was the best.
Oh, really?
Who was the better one? I was kind of team Jennifer because she was.
This gained a lot of traction down there. Like,
she was kind of attractive.
You're naming a lot of stuff that like was talking points in this. I mean,
I remember it. It was like big time. I mean, it's all anybody talked about. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
It was quite the debate. Like,
okay,
y'all do realize how good this men's team is, and we're just focused on the women.
Yeah. Ole Miss women bowed out in the Sweet 16, losing to Louisville by 10, 72-62 on Friday night to finish up their season. Like as I said last week, I think it gives them a chance to build a little more even nationally in the portal. I think they have an identity that should help that program moving forward into next year. Louisville had its season in last night to Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. She's incredible.
She's amazing.
She had the first ever. Nobody in either NCAA tournament had ever had a triple double with 30 or more points. She had 40 or more points last night for the Hawkeyes. They won by 14, I think, something like that. It was like 97-83, something like that over Louisville last night.
So it's Iowa, LSU, South Carolina.
Waiting on that's tonight.
I'm assuming
You're going to go ahead and pencil South Carolina in?
Yeah. I mean, and then there's another game. Okay, gotcha.
Somebody else is playing.
I'd like to see Iowa, South Carolina in a final just to see if Caitlin Clark could do it by herself.
They're in the semis. It's next.
Oh, okay. Well, I might actually watch that.
Virginia Tech plays Ohio State, I believe. Ohio State knocked off UConn, by the way. UConn's first year not in the Final Four since 2007.
Oh, how about that?
I think that's right. I feel somewhat certain that is correct. Yeah, tonight we got Maryland, South Carolina at 6:00, and Ohio State, Virginia Tech at 8.
Okay,
those are your games. Maryland's a 2, South Carolina's a 1, Virginia Tech's a 1, Ohio State's a 3.
Okay.
Iowa 97, Louisville 83, LSU 54, Miami 42.
This is Kim Mulkey's second year at LSU, and they're in the Final Four.
That is correct.
Yeah. She's a force of nature.
I guess they will play the winner of Ohio State and Virginia Tech in the semis.
Kyle Wilson. Can you imagine if Coach O and Coach Mulkey had a kid? No. Okay. No. And I don't have a problem with their outfits, by the way. I'm with Ginger here completely.
We're talking about it.
Be you. And if that's who you are, go for it.
I'm so used to just seeing Kim Mulkey because of how many times they showed her on the screen during Kramer Robertson's games that sure. Yeah. I'm like, she's one of like the 10 most recognizable people in the world to me at this point. I'm like, yeah, that's Kim Mulkey. All right, cool, sweet.
She's good for that sport.
Oh, she's great for the sport. Fine. LSU's paying her a shit ton of money and she's winning games. I know we have stuff to talk about. I get it. I'm just kind of getting to a break at this point. But I am a little curious what happened with national respect in the SEC because the Athletic had Ole Miss ranked the 18th best team in the country, and they were an 8 seed. And then LSU's like 34-2, and they were a 3 seed.
Yeah, one of those losses was Carolina.
Yeah, I mean,
who is undefeated.
Yeah.
So LSU had one quote loss.
I don't understand the value put on the league at this point. Because, I mean, frankly, the SEC typically gets benefit of doubt from that standpoint. And they were very undervalued inside the kind of the national conversation for whatever reason. Yeah, LSU currently is 32-2. And they were a 3 seed.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the sport.
Well, I don't either.
Yeah, so I just can't go there. I don't know.
But I feel like the 1 seed that woke up and saw LSU as their 3 went, hold on a minute. Hand race.
Sure.
I got a question. Kim Mulkey and 32-2.
Yeah.
SEC team.
How are they at 3? Yeah.
That seems a little whatever. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they're 2 losses. Scanning.
The Russell Westbrook of coaches. Yeah, it's fair.
They lost to Carolina and they lost in the SEC tournament to Tennessee 69-67. Those are their 2 losses.
She's just super intense. That's all I can tell you, Georgia. I mean, she's always been that way. She was that way as a player. Crazy. Like, I knew people who coached her, and they said she was just wired that way.
So, going to go to football after the break in a second. I'll tease it here. Lane Kiffin talked to Scarborough of ESPN. Story came out a few days ago. Let's do this, and then we'll actually get into the meat of the story after the break. Are you surprised he did that interview, and why do you think now? What do you think Lane's purpose of that interview was?
Am I surprised he did the interview? No. It tells me that we probably didn't follow up enough after it was over, maybe because we were so sick of it. It also told me that he wanted to do that with a national media person. And it told me that he's a little irritated with the attitude towards him from the fans right now. And so I thought the story was, there wasn't a whole lot in it, but there were 2 or 3 things that were pretty interesting. Frankly, I had begun to question my own reporting a little bit. Like, was I dreaming stuff? Was it never serious? I mean, I was starting to wonder that, and then I know, but I was, because you get these people that are like, he was never taking the job, he was never considering the job, his family, blah blah blah. I mean, I had someone telling me that Knox wanted him to take the job, that the daughter didn't want him to take the job, but that Knox did want him to take the job. I don't have any idea. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But I'd gotten to a point where I was starting to ask myself questions like, did I just miss it? And then I got that story, and I was like, nope, we were right. Okay. It was kind of like cleansing as a reporter.
All right, well, we'll do this. We'll talk about both sides of it. We'll do that coming out of the break. First, we'll do that too about the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. And speaking of football, season will be here before you know it. You can get your season ticket renewals. They're due March 31st. Renew now by logging onto your account at OleMissTix.com or calling the Ole Miss ticket office at 662-915-7159. Remember, excitement's building around Ole Miss basketball, the men's and women's. The ticket office currently accepting new season ticket orders for both sports. You can submit your order today by calling that number, 662-915-7159, OleMissTix.com. And remember, current season ticket holders can renew starting July 1st for that. Also, Morgan Wallen, morganwallen.com for tickets to the 2-night concerts at Vaught Hemingway Stadium coming up. It's LSU baseball weekend, April 22nd, April 23rd here in Oxford. Again, morganwallen.com.
Oh, the LSU baseball series is here?
Yeah.
Why did I think it was there?
Don't know.
I'm glad you said that.
Because they won down there. They swept them in Baton Rouge last season.
Oh, that's right. I need to fix that in 10 thoughts before I publish, or else I'm just walking right into a Hornets nest. The overall point of what I was writing.
At A&M, Arkansas, at State, LSU.
Oh, okay. I should have known that. I'm glad I was listening to you talk. Walk On Sports Bistro puts everything they've got into bringing you game day with the taste of Louisiana. Dig into their mouth-watering, made-from-scratch Louisiana cuisine, po' boys, gumbo, voodoo shrimp, juicy burgers, fresh salads, all in front of 70-plus TVs, 40-plus ice-cold beers on tap. You can also order online at walkons.com or on their convenient Walk-Ons app if you're looking for a place to watch the Final Four, watch college baseball this weekend, whatever the case may be. Major League Baseball, get started. Walk-Ons in Oxford or Ridgeland, and make sure you tell them that you appreciate them sponsoring our little show. The College Corner is your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area in Ridgeland. It's next to Fleet Feet in Flowwood. It's next to Half Shell. If you don't live in Jackson, it's okay. Go to collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They have the largest selection of Rebel gear in Central Mississippi. We're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern, 662-429-4429. A-Stock Auctions is a Nashville-based online auction company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items at A-Stock start at just $1. That's right, every item starts at just $1. So shop now at astock.bid or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. If you want it, bid it, win it. We're also brought to you by Solutions RX. It's a probiotic, multivitamin, and supplement company created by Ole Miss Pharmacy alum Chris Cornelison. It's pharmaceutical grade, manufactured right here inside the U.S. under the highest standards. It's based out of Iuka. If you take diabetes meds, high blood pressure meds, or cholesterol medications, you know that they typically cause some side effects like muscle pain, brain fog, energy loss due to a depletion of minerals and vitamins in the body. But Chris formulated a product called Prescription Support, puts those vitamins back into your body, eliminates the side effects, keeps you more compliant in taking your medications, and that leads to you staying healthier over the long term. It's available in local independent pharmacies across the continental U.S., including all across Mississippi, and on their site, solutionsrx.com. You can also type in the promo code OEP at checkout. That's OEP, and get 10% off your first order.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync. Pick up prescriptions the same day each month and take care of you. One trip to the pharmacy, one delivery, and you have everything you need when you need it with G&M. Also, you can transfer your medications easily. You make one phone call. They take care of the rest. They're with Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs or GNM. So again, give them a call and we'll see how their community pharmacies can help you out. 662-236-2222. So again, Lane talked to Alex Scarborough, that story at ESPN. It came out on the 24th, so a few days ago. And some interesting quotes, I think. The lead talked about that how he felt conflicted with the criticism he received from fans over how he handled the process. We screw up all the time, but when you think you're doing the right thing and when you're really criticized for it, especially by your own people, I struggle with that because I feel like I went through a decision-making process that you're supposed to go through. I mean, you got to decide. It's your life and your family's life. He goes on to say, I felt like it would have been a distraction to make this big statement 24 hours before the game and making it about me. So I thought I was doing the right thing by saying, okay, I'm going to avoid making this about me. You guys go play. But just so you know, you won't have to sit here and worry your coach is leaving tomorrow after the game or something. I'm staying. I just haven't made it known publicly. I told him thinking that's what obviously matters the most. And because we lost, it wasn't done right. If we won, nobody would have cared. Sometimes the right thing to do doesn't always go right in areas. Let's see. Looking for any other quotes. That's it. Yeah, pretty much. So tell me, because I might even disagree a little bit.
Kind of go back up to the top. So we'll take these quotes one at a time.
All right. Talking about how we handle the process. We screw up all the time, but when you think you're doing the right thing and then you're really criticized for it, especially by your own people, I struggle with that because I feel like I went through a decision-making process you're supposed to go through. If everybody will remember back, obviously tons of heat the night of the Arkansas game. That's when Cole and Jordan and all did the whole, hey, take the players to Auburn with you, all that stuff that was really strange in the middle of the Razorback blowout of the Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And then that entire Sokolov all happens on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
Lane has 2 quick meetings with his players over the course of those next few days, one day and then one the next night prior to the Egg Bowl. The second one a little more forceful than the first on, hey, I'm here, I'm hanging, don't listen to the noise, whatever it was he said. Both leaving some outs if you wanted to take that, but he was both affirmative in staying both times. Look, there's a lot going on in the process at the same time. Multiple industry people have talked about coaches that would have gone on a Lane Auburn staff. I mean, it's very, very in depth on why people believe that there was real consideration here.
Because there was.
Yeah, exactly.
And he admits it here.
So point being, you kind of get it from his situation. Tell me why.
That part?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Brian Harsin gets fired, what, October 30th-ish?
Sure. October 31st, Halloween.
Okay. That was a Monday, if I recall. It was a Lane Kiffin press conference day. It was late morning. It was right before Lane came in to talk to us. And I asked him about Auburn immediately. I didn't ask him specifically about him and Auburn, but he obviously knew that
he was on
that's where this was going. He didn't shoot it down because he couldn't shoot it down because he was seriously considering it. People do semantics on these things, as you know, Chase. Well, Lane Kiffin didn't interview for the job. All right, what does that mean? Lane Kiffin didn't interview for the job. Does that mean he didn't go fly to Auburn and conduct an interview? Sure, buy that. Are you telling me there were no conversations? Or that those conversations weren't sort of all conducted through intermediaries? Because we can do semantics about whether you did or did not interview for the job. There was a process, and Lane was involved in that process. And anyone who thinks he wasn't, you're kidding yourself. I think there was a part of him that wanted to take the job. I think he was conflicted. Then the Alabama game happened. And once Ole Miss lost to Alabama and was eliminated from the playoffs, the story heated up. If you remember, the Alabama game was like November the 12th.
12th.
And so if you think about it, those first 12 days of November, even though the Kiffin stuff was percolating, he wasn't getting asked about it. The media we either didn't do our job or we were respectful, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't know. But the focus was on the Alabama game. And when that game ended, and Ole Miss clearly at that point wasn't going to Atlanta. They weren't going to the playoffs. The story shifted from, well, I know they play at Arkansas Saturday, but that's not really the story. And by the middle of that week, the story had begun to intensify. He didn't kill it because how could he kill it when he was seriously considering it? I'm literally convinced, and this story did nothing but convince me further, that on that Saturday night, Lane Kiffin believed he was going to Auburn. I'm convinced of it now. I can't speak for Cole Kubelik and the other people on that broadcast, but look, they knew something. We all knew something. I sat next to
Brandon Marcello.
Thank you. Brandon Marcello was there that night. Now, he lives in Northwest Arkansas, so it was a convenient little drive, but he wasn't there to cover the Razorbacks and the Rebels. He was there to ask Lane Kiffin questions postgame. And I asked questions postgame.
And you asked Marcello kind of what he knew.
And I asked Marcello at that point, hey, you're not here for kicks and giggles. What do you think? I mean, you're obviously connected. And Brandon believed, and he said, he goes, look, I mean, in fairness, I don't think I'm violating a privacy here. He said, look, it could change, but I think Auburn thinks they've got him. And Lane's answers that night, if you remember, I did the podcast with you afterwards, and you had heard the same things. It was pretty obvious that he was at least strongly considering the job. You know, look, he had begun the process. When I say he had, intermediaries, agents, the process of, hey, what would a staff look like at Auburn? They were down that road. What changed between Saturday and Monday, Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday and Wednesday? I don't know. Family, sweat equity. I don't know. Something changed. So I don't have a problem with him saying, I didn't want to shoot it down.
Or he was, it best, worst, whatever the way you want to look at it is, he just didn't know, so he was going down both roads.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know if I take it, I've got to do this. So let's, to some extent, do that. But, hey, I'm probably okay here too.
And I'm in the vast minority of the people who don't think that was the reason that they got blown out in Arkansas that night.
No, I think it's why they lost to Mississippi State.
I agreed. I think there was a lot. Like, the whole Arkansas night was a lesson in...
It was weird.
In just how weirdness kicks in.
Yes.
Because if he were really locked in and focused at 42-6 when Sanders makes the long run...
And you have a game in 5 days.
You just go, hey, look, this is embarrassing.
Not our night.
Not our night. This happens. But I'm not going to lose twice tonight. I'm getting some guys off the field. I'm going to wave the white flag. Sam's got a game on Friday. Maybe he'll see the white flag and go, hey, we're going to take our guys out too. Hey, KJ, come sit.
Yeah.
And let's get the hell out of here and let it be. But instead, it was a weird look that night. They chased points. And instead of losing 42-13, they lost 42-27, I think.
I don't even remember.
Something like that. And played 98 offensive snaps. I remember there was a play where Jackson Dart goes like way up in the air, got hit trying to score, lands funny, and I'm thinking, well, there went that. And he was okay, but, you know, it's like, Craig, what are you doing? And the only explanation was I didn't want it to look so bad because...
But frankly, it's also, it's one of the places where, and I think he would probably, when he's not emotional or in the middle of a game, would say this. You saw this throughout the year. You've seen this through the entire Kiffin tenure. He has a hard time turning games off. It's frankly just one of his issues.
It is
stopping when a game is gone either way. I mean, Dart and Judkins have both took hits throughout the season that were unnecessary late in games that were decided.
The game in Baton Rouge, yeah, that game was over.
Yeah,
and you're out there,
you're getting popped.
There
is a certain, hey, it just is what it is.
And it's not his nature to wave the white flag, but sometimes you got to wave the white flag. You got to live to fight another day. Lose the battle, win the war.
And look, here's the deal. And here's, in a vacuum, I understand what Lane is saying. I get it. At the same time, well, had we won, nobody would have cared. Well, of course, you're playing SEC football.
The second quote, the one about the Wednesday night, I disagree with him completely.
Yeah,
you would if you had made the decision to stay, that decision was made. You should have put that out publicly. You could have completely stopped that narrative. You could have put it to bed. that Thursday would have had a different feel inside that stadium.
I think they win the game.
And they probably win the game. That was a weird Egg Bowl.
Because Lane thought they were going to run away with it, even when his kid grabs the fire extinguisher and the game's halfway over and State looks kind of listless. And you go, okay, fine. They'll get through it. 9-3 is 9-3.
Yeah, we've rewritten some history because Mike Leach passed away. State didn't give a damn that night. I mean, Troy Brown on his show with me said it was the weirdest rivalry game I was ever a part of because really nobody wanted to be out there. Both teams. He goes, it really wasn't very intense. Wasn't as intense as Western Michigan, Central Michigan, where they hate each other. He was talking about the field.
Yeah, sure.
On the field, because I know it just wasn't a lot of stuff. And I remember watching the game going, this does not look or feel like a Ole Miss Mississippi State game.
No, because usually we're like, oh, God.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it was just kind of nothing. And I think the atmosphere inside that stadium would have been different if Lane Kiffin had said on Wednesday, I'm not leaving.
Maybe he was trying to justify it. I don't know. I mean, Lane's not going to tell me the answer to this. I just don't understand the purpose of the story because at the end of the day, it is about winning football games, and you didn't win football games to end the season. So saying that you're upset with the criticism, yes, had you beaten Arkansas or Mississippi State, people wouldn't be as upset. I mean, that's
well, sure. If you lose to Arkansas and beat Mississippi State, you go, what, 9-3, and you go to the Citrus Bowl.
Because you look like crap in the bowl game, too, which nobody's holding against you because it's a bowl game, but whatever. I mean,
it was a crappy bowl game, and you looked like crap while you lost in that bowl game. And you lost 5 of your last 6 games, and you had the Auburn thing.
I'm just having a hard time with – there's at least the connotation. I think it's too strong of a word. But there's the connotation that he's playing victim a little bit. And you got a raise, kept your job, and you lost to end the year. I mean, like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Am I wrong here?
I don't think he's playing victim. I do think I understand why the people that say he is. I
think that's too strong. But there is a bit of
it comes across as a certain degree of whining. Like, why are you people upset? And it's like, oh, come on, Lane. Why would they not be upset? But the truth is you get these people, the super fans that are out there. No offense to you guys. I love you. He didn't consider the job. Yes, the hell he didn't. He did. There's the proof right there in the quote. He did. Now, was it a distraction to the team? I don't know. Did he handle it the right way? He says he did. That's worth noting so that the next time something rolls around, if there is a next time.
He appears to be comfortable with the way he handled the process. And I do get the, hey, I don't know, so I can't say anything. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
the words were careful on Tuesday and Wednesday.
He didn't want to say, I'm not going, and then went. He didn't want to do it.
Didn't want to do the Tuberville, Saban.
And he literally referenced Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah.
So he had done his history on how this all, and he admitted he had done his research. I mean, I can tell you research was being done. I talked to some of the people who were doing the research. We can all say what we want to say about whoever on the Auburn beat or whatever. They weren't making it up. The national people that weekend weren't making it up when they started really intensifying the Kiffin to Auburn talk. It wasn't being made up. I didn't bail on my girls on the Friday in Fayetteville so that I could run to the hotel to write columns and hot boards because I wanted to. We were hearing things. I mean, I heard something very specific on Friday afternoon. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I know who told me. I know how specific it was. You start hearing that kind of stuff, and you're like, okay, well, this is going down. And the fact that he wasn't shooting it down at all on that Saturday night after losing to Arkansas told me that this was serious. And I don't know what changed. Frankly, that would be the really interesting human story for him if he wanted to further this. Hey, Lane, what happened between Saturday and Wednesday to change? Because look, Cole Kubelik and those guys are pretty good at what they do. Cole's really good at what he does. Cole's a professional. Cole wants to be a professional. He does not want to be viewed as nothing but an Auburn guy. And they were strong that night because they knew something. They just knew something, Chase.
I do agree with Grind. I don't think Lane believes he needs to mend defense. Frankly, I think that was some of the indecision, just sort of like what to do and how to handle PR things after he signed the new contract was, I think Ole Miss would have liked him to come out and go, hey, I really got to fix some stuff. Because his Q rating took a hit, whether it should or shouldn't have.
Yeah, no, it definitely
Inside
did.
the fan base, Lane plummeted from a Q rating standpoint.
Definitely took a hit.
Now, you get it back. It's
Sure.
not,
Easy.
Come on. It's not complicated
Easy.
here.
Not even a little.
Win a few games and suddenly it's all good.
But win a few games and suddenly people start talking about another job. This is going to get testy fast.
Yeah, his daughters are Landry and Presley, by the way, in the stream. I don't know.
There's one of his daughter's good friends is apparently coming here, and that has been turned into his other daughter, and that's not it. He referred to her as his daughter, but he was joking.
Yeah, it's not factual.
It's
okay.
It's okay.
It's in our stream, sorry. Podcasters.
Yeah, I know.
You look like you have a thought.
No, there's a difference in the way a fan views what happened that night in terms of the broadcast and the way that a journalist views what happens with the broadcast, and there's no bridging that gap. It just is what it is, and it's fine. Everybody, it's no big deal.
Yeah, we'll stay on the topic. We'll stay with football. Before we do that, I'll tell you about John Steele Creamery, johnsteelcreamery.com, 662-419-9201. Go to their Instagram page, tons of videos, photos of all their great items. You can also shop right there online. So many different offerings from Johnson Hill Creamery, their charcuterie trays, their in-house cheeses they make every single day, and much more. So let them help you out with your catering. They even do showers, weddings, different times, things like that. So John Steele Creamery, again, 662-419-9201, johnsteelcreamery.com.
Our friends at Dead Soxy have a free gift for you. The gift is exclusive, so head over to deadsoxy.com/rebels, and you'll be the first to hear about exclusive collaborations, new products, and even receive freebies on the regular by joining the NIL subscription. That means that you'll not only have the freshest socks in town, but you'll also be contributing directly to Ole Miss Athletics, helping support your favorite players. As your first gift for signing up, you'll receive a free pair of limited edition Juice Kiffin socks, only available to members. To get your gift, all you have to do is add a pair of socks from Dead Soxy's Ole Miss NIL subscription to your cart, and your free pair of Juice Kiffin socks will automatically appear in your cart. No membership fees to become a member. All you have to do is start your subscription by adding one pair of NIL socks to your cart, choosing how often you want new pairs from the Ole Miss collection delivered. So head over to deadsoxy.com/rebels. Sign up for the NIL subscription today to show your support. My 10 Weekend Thoughts will be up a little bit later today. It's brought to you by Game Changer Patches, the only two-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. Warm-up patches used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game and ready for your next play. Go to GameChangerPatch.com, promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. ACS is owned by my friend Clay McNutt in Baldwin, Mississippi. It's a complete electrical control system solution provider, a Rockwell Automation recognized system integrator. ACS has a full-time dedicated emergency service and troubleshooting staff and a UL 508A panel shop. To learn more about ACS, go to acsllcms.com or call 662-601-4381. We're also brought to you by Lamons Fine Jewelry. Lamons, 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford, serving the Oxford area for the past 3/4 of a century. Engagement rings, wedding rings, fine jewelry, watches, pearls, fashion jewelry, children's jewelry, collectibles, and more. Lamons is the gold standard in fine jewelry. Visit them at lamonsfinejewelry.com or call them at 662-234-2777.
Podcast is brought to you by Northeast Spark, NESPARC. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's nespark.com. 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, a wireless mesh extender for those who need that extra help. So to get the best internet in Lafayette County, as well as parts of Union and Pontotoc counties for those who previously did not have internet, 662-238-3159. I mean, look, it's getting paid a lot of money. It's got to win football games. That's bottom line here. The rest of it is noise that will go one way or the other either way. If he goes 7-5, then everybody's going to bring it back up and have issues. And if he goes 10-2, There will not be a peep of anything to do with Auburn or.
If he beats Auburn, it'll be one conversation. If he loses to Auburn,
It'd be
there'll be
another
another conversation. Is that fair? Nope. Is that the way it is?
Welcome to college football.
Yep.
So this is, look, it's filling podcast time. It's fun to talk about, but
I dread that week.
you don't want to do a week of Hugh retrospective?
I don't.
You know,
I suspect we will. I don't want to.
10 best Hugh Freeze moments, 10 worst Hugh Freeze moments. Auburn, Ole Miss through the years.
Caroline said, hey, Dad's weekend has been set. And I was like, when is it? And it's that day. I was like, ah, son of a. But hey, it gives me a reason not to go to Auburn. Have to find a place to watch the game and do my job. But hey, I don't have to be there. Where would you rather be, Auburn or Fayetteville? You can keep name Auburn or Istanbul.
I think what's not debatable.
Auburn or Kiev.
Yeah. Somalia.
Auburn or Siberia. Yeah. Siberia sounds nice.
What is not, as we kind of move on, what's not debatable is that and it really wasn't cold that much, what Jordan and those guys did that night ramped up the intensity of the conversation. It made Ole Miss fans more pissed off. It put Lane in a worse spot.
It did.
It caused tons of escalation that you never see from the SEC network.
Right.
That is the part where it's like, it shows you the certainty they felt about it, but it also created a huge issue at the same time.
It probably will never happen again like that, but it does show you that they felt like they knew something. And I got to tell you, that night, I agreed with them. I mean, I did.
And they were killing time.
They were killing time. It was the topic.
But it was ridiculous. Because it made everything worse. Like, you just don't see that. Like, it.
Well, okay, let's play this out the other way.
Yeah.
Let's say he takes the job. And on Friday, he's the coach at Auburn. Nobody is retrospectively questioning that broadcast. They're like, oh, shit, they knew something. Internally,
though, you probably should. Hey, us as a network, is that really?
Well,
because we never do that. We are, by God, every 14 schools.
They stopped. If you go back and look at the Egg Bowl broadcast, they're like, hey, I know this is out there, but we're not talking about it. So
they got reprimanded to some extent.
Or it was kind of a, hey, let's not forget that's not what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I just journalistically go, they knew something. They had talked to a lot of people. They knew something. Because I can tell you this, the Arkansas staff believed that they were going to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And they had talked to the Arkansas staff because,
I see
what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
There was absolutely a belief inside the Arkansas football building that Lane Kiffin was taking the Auburn job.
I forgot Lane did that. He completely reversed course on the whole yardage thing from Bama to Arkansas. He used both sides of the same coin.
It's a weird night. Had you been there that night, and I think this was the difference too. If you were just watching on television, you saw and heard one thing. If you were actually there, it felt different.
So Ole Miss had practice on Saturday. Observations up at rebelgroup.com for that. They resume from an open practice standpoint tomorrow morning. Lane will speak to the media sometime around 11:30 tomorrow. Players as well. I don't know if we still are doing the offense one day, defense the next thing or not. No idea. As you're aware, we got all quarterbacks here today.
Except one.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Jackson Dart did not speak to the media. He had class. He had class on Thursday. Spencer Sanders did not throw a football on Saturday during it wasn't a scrimmage, during the normal practice that was on the practice fields on Saturday. I've said that he has just been on a pitch count recovering the shoulder, that it was pre-planned, that he had a little soreness earlier in the week, and they're being careful. No big deal. It was not something that happened from an injury standpoint throughout Thursday's scrimmage. He took no reps at all outside of team, and I think it was only a couple in team, and it was design runs or handoffs or just something that did not cause him to throw the football. But it continues to be such the interesting part of the story is that he's competing for the starting quarterback job without a healthy shoulder and has a very small timetable to do so. It just is, it's weird.
I don't. Again,
It's weird.
One thing this is a preview of 10 thoughts is that I'm having to remind myself to stop thinking conventionally. That we're not covering a conventional program right now, and so you have.
And it's not a conventional time with NIL and transfer portal. I mean, like it's again, he might be cutting edge and on the forefront where you go, "I be damn."
Sure.
Or you might go, "Oh my God." I don't know.
Again, I don't know. I mean, logic tells you one thing, conventional wisdom tells you one thing, but reality might tell you something different. We don't know. It's March the 27th. Ole Miss doesn't play a football game for more than 5.5 months. I don't know.
I don't know what quarterbacks are here or not here come fall. I will say this. It's almost kind of odd to watch because Ole Miss has had capable quarterbacks for a while now for the most part, but you typically don't see 3 dudes with that much talent on the field. Wait, I'm not used to that just covering practice with those 3 quarterbacks. I mean,
well, the one that has
Walker
the most
Howard
talent
looks really good.
The one who has the most talent
is Walker Howard.
Yes. Now he's younger.
Well, I was talking to Jake Thompson at practice on Saturday, and I kind of leaned over and I went, in my head, I have Walker Howard, the backup quarterback. Just sort of my preconceived notion going in. I'm watching Sanders and Dart. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not necessarily considering him for the job, but if I take the numbers off their jerseys and just watch them, I go, he had the best day. It's one day. But I go, no, that looks real. Looks really real.
His arm talent's real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unique. But he hasn't started, Spencer Sanders has started 42 games. Jackson has started 16 or 17 games now between USC and Ole Miss. So,
yeah, experience is not there, obviously.
It's difficult for me to watch Walker Howard and go, yeah, he's waiting for 2025 to be the quarterback. I find that difficult to wrap my head around. And I don't think he came here thinking that. So, again, at the risk of having the same conversation for 6 months, I mean, again, if Walker Howard felt like third string was in the cards, he
wouldn't be here.
He'd just be at LSU right now. Or he would have transferred to TCU. He transferred to Ole Miss because when he sat down at dinner with Ole Miss, that's what they told him. So the question becomes, Spencer, why did you come to Ole Miss? And he kind of got asked that the other day, and his answer was, I always bet on myself. I'm not afraid to compete. Is that all of the answer?
Which is an answer, but doesn't make sense in the context of the way the question is being asked.
I asked, why did you leave Oklahoma State?
Well, and some people watched Spencer Sanders' interview and said, oh, he was aloof or didn't care. No, he's just older. He's been through this circus. He does he started 42 games in the Big 12. This isn't about he's not really even a college athlete anymore. Like he's just here playing football.
He's 23 years old. He's married.
He's competing and he's focused on that, and he's probably a little worried about the shoulder, and he's got one last chance, and here's where we are.
I've got a different theory, but it's nothing but a theory. And so I'm almost reluctant to express it because people take it from, hey, McCready's theory to he's reporting. And I'm not. I don't know. I kind of wonder if maybe he's just playing the role of good soldier right now, but that's just me. I don't see a scenario where all 3 of them are out there in August happy and content and, quote, loving each other. That's
it's
irrational.
Very possible you're right. But he's not throwing every day.
But they don't play for 5.5 months.
No, I get that. For that to be true, what fans have to realize is it's not a competition.
Right.
Because he can't compete. You know what I'm saying?
But they knew when they brought him in
that's my
that
point.
He had a shoulder deal.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
They probably know specifics about the shoulder deal.
Sure.
Probably just needs a little time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't think he's in danger.
I mean, Mercer's not rolling into town this weekend.
No.
We got half a year, basically. I mean, we do this spring thing. There's still 8 college baseball weekends left. They still got a whole summer. Yeah. June, July.
I know.
He won't take a meaningful rep until August. That's the 8th month. We're in the 3rd month. I don't know if you heard, but this is March. Yeah. We still got April, May, June, July to go before we get to a place where, hey, his shoulder is a problem.
It's kind of funny you basketball decides they're champion in April and baseball in November when it's October and March.
That's true.
They can't fit it into a window.
Yeah.
So, yes, practices are open. Lane changed his mind. Whatever. Tomorrow for that, Thursday, Saturday. So, baseball. Ole Miss gets swept by Florida over the weekend. Should's not the right word. Had a very real chance to win game 1. They played a Saturday doubleheader. They played a game on Sunday. They had a 6-3 lead in the 8th inning on Saturday in the first game. They bring in Mason Nichols for the 8th. Florida scores 4 runs in that inning, 2 in the next inning in the 9th. They end up winning 9-7, and the Rebels' best chance to win a game. They got popped pretty good in the finale on Saturday and then lost 7-4 in a day yesterday where they only had 2 hits through 7 innings, had a really hard time getting to Florida pitching even on a Sunday. Just could not hold down Florida's offense at any point over the weekend. And Florida's very elite. So
Florida opened the door for them a little bit in the 8th.
Made 2 errors.
And they hit into a double play, and that was that.
Yeah, there were opportunities. Florida did not play overly crisp baseball throughout the weekend whatsoever. And look, Ole Miss opened with Vanderbilt and Florida, so you can at least say that. You can go, hey, that's 2 really, really damn good baseball teams. At least you're not Mississippi State. The Bulldogs have now lost 18 straight SEC games.
Oof.
They lost 17. They lost 11 to end last season, and now they are 0-6 this season. So State's lost 17 in a row.
Wow.
You didn't realize that?
I knew it was a big number. I didn't. That number is just when you hear it, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of games.
If it had been in one season, literally they'd go more than half this year without winning an SEC game. But Ole Miss 0-6. It gets easier because A&M is not playing great baseball, but it doesn't get easier. It's A&M, Arkansas, then you get State, LSU.
Here's the problem.
And then whatever.
The problem is math.
The problem is math.
Okay. So you have 24 games left. 3 of them are against LSU, who's an absolute juggernaut.
Very good.
So I think you have to assume that you're not going to win that series. Frankly, if you get 1 out of that series, you being anybody right now.
When you do the math, say that's 1-2, and then you go.
So now you're 1-8 with 21 games left.
Yeah.
Okay. To get to the NCAA tournament.
14-6. 14-8.
Yeah, I was going to say 13 wins gets you maybe into the bubble. 14 probably
13-8. Yeah,
13. So you got to go 13-8 in the other 21 games, and it's doable if you look at the teams. It's A&M, it's
Georgia,
Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, Alabama, Auburn. It's doable, but your margin is really small. You can't afford a bad weekend, and you have to start now. You have to win 2 at Texas A&M because you have to assume that you're probably not going to sweep Arkansas. You could win 2, but you're probably not going to sweep them. They're 4-2. They got 1 at LSU. You got LSU coming up. You probably have to sweep Mississippi State.
And it's down there on Super Bulldog weekend.
Yeah, and Auburn's there. Alabama, Missouri. Missouri's playing pretty well. I mean, just it's
hard.
You got to go right now. Because if let's say you lose 2 out of 3 to A&M, okay, and you come home and let's say you lose 2 out of 3 to Arkansas, it's over. You're done.
Math gets you.
The math is done because at that point you're 2-10 with LSU. Even if you get 1, you're 3-12, and it's over. You're not going there. And so it's time, and they've run out of time, and so you've got to pitch better. And you got to pitch better right now.
And look, it's pitching. Like
Of course.
I know the message board keeps going, hey, you got to hit better. There's so much pressure on that offense to score because they are not pitching that I'm not blaming the offense. They got to Brandon Sproat and scored 7 runs in an SEC opener against a Florida kid throwing 100 with a 90-mile-an-hour changeup. You did your freaking job.
Yeah, they hit the kid
in game 2. They get beat 12-9 or something. Yeah. Like
you scored 9 runs, you should win an SEC game.
Yeah, the offense. If you're holding them to the standard of no, they've just got to do more, then you're asking for perfection, and that's impossible.
Oh, that's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's impossible. So look, did the offense waste chances? Yes, but every offense in the country wastes chances at some point.
Of course, across the board.
They did plenty to win that series offensively, given what they were going against, because Hurston Waldrop is a hell of a pitcher for a number 2. Brandon Sproat has been excellent this season. Even, they give up 6 runs through 3 innings in the second game on Saturday and then put up a 5 spot to get right back in it. But then they get right back in it and Florida scores again. There's a deflating part for the offense in the standpoint of every time they go on a run, they don't get that shutdown inning the next inning to bring them back to the plate. They're always just chasing their tail right now because they cannot get outs from that standpoint. So, no, there's a lot here. There's more into pitching. I'll get into it. We'll go to a break. We'll come back. We'll finish with baseball, obviously. Before we do that, Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. 7 different flavors available for you. Their lemon cracked pepper, their New Orleans-style barbecue, their 2 most recent offerings there. Use code RG, buy 5 packs or more, and you get 25% off with Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. Remember, they mail them straight to your house, throw them in the freezer, fewer than 10 minutes, freezer to plate with Prime Shrimp. Let them take care of dinner tonight. Got busy week with kids and sports activities. A lot more of that starting as the spring and summer near. So Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. Again, code RG to take advantage of that special offer just through the website and the podcast.
Brought to you by Pinnacle based in Madison, Mississippi. They've got clients in multiple states, advisors in multiple states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. It's mypinwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. If you're thinking about a summer vacation, get in touch with my buddy John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. Just give him some parameters, give him a budget, see if he can help you with some options. You don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. Don't forget, if you're coming up to town, in the next couple of weeks for baseball or whatever the case may be, double-decker, whatever the case, stop by Opa. It's Oxford's newest Greek restaurant on the square. It's the perfect place to enjoy an evening, fabulous food, craft libations. Opa on the square in Oxford. I'll have a mailbag to you on Wednesday. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors, serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. Whitney sells condos, land, commercial, and residential family homes. You can reach her at 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844. We're brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency, connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, seeking an entry-level position, or you're a seasoned professional, they can help you. They have opportunities across the board. It's always free for the candidate, so get in touch with Will, Sydney, or Kelsey at 662-832-5138 or on their website, servicespecialistltd.com. And don't just accept what you see, but imagine something new. Step forward and chase after a better version of yourself. Every day, Corinth Dental is helping people reinvent themselves one smile at a time. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures, including Invisalign. These clear aligners are the virtually invisible way to improve your smile. So call Corinth Dental today for a no-cost digital scan of your teeth and let them show you the way to a straighter, healthier smile. 12 months, no interest, no down payment financing is available at corinthdental.com. And don't forget to check out our friends at Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails. There's a lot to be offered at Southern Traditions, including horseback riding offerings from beginners to advanced. You can compete in nationally recognized competitions as well. So get in touch with the people at Southern Traditions Farm on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm.
Yeah, there's no easy way to what exactly has happened with the pitching staff. There's several different things here. First, from a number standpoint, I wrote about this yesterday. Ole Miss 0-6 in the SEC for the first time since 1996. That was a team that actually was 0-7 because they lost to LSU in a non-conference game. Ole Miss used to play in the Winn-Dixie Classic in the Superdome and play some Louisiana teams in the non-con every year. They finished 7-23. If Ole Miss loses on Friday in College Station, it would be the first time Ole Miss has lost 7 SEC games to begin a season since 1935.
Ooh.
That team went 0-10 in league play and like 5-13 overall or something like that. To the point that I was going back through the stats and I wasn't sure who some of the abbreviations were for the teams they were playing. I wasn't sure if Sewanee was on the schedule counting as an SEC game or not. So I had multiple issues. If that explains anything, that's how far back it was, is that there were multiple times where I had to look up whether Tulane was in the league when I was looking for stats there. But look, yes, they have injuries. It's very obvious. They have their ace out with Hunter Elliott. They have their closer coming into the season out with Josh Mallitz, and Riley Maddox is a very talented arm that's at least out right now. Those make huge things. There's a trickle-down effect to that with Jack Doherty is in a role that he is not best suited for, where he's competing his ass off, but there's a difference in being able to get through the lineup once or twice and give you some innings and be a shutdown ace that can carry you through a game when there's so many different aces in this league right now. I was texting with Colin Brister about it, and the pitching across the league is so good that you can't count on your offense to run through teams. If the league was just offensive with subpar pitching, it would help Ole Miss's situation a lot more because you would just get in a bunch of scoring fest and try to outscore people. But the pitching across the board is pretty good. So you're at a larger disadvantage than you would have been at some other seasons. They've got the injuries. They have a lot of newcomers, and none of them have necessarily taken the jumps as fast as they thought. Grayson Saunier is dealing with some confidence issues. He's getting too much to the plate. Xavier Rivas is honestly pitching pretty well. 3 weeks in a row, he's giving them a complete chance on Sundays to win the game. That's all you can ask for. I don't think he's been bad at all, but the true story is that out of your Friday and Saturday starters, there have been 6 weeks on the year. So 6 times 2, that's 12. In 12 weekend starts on Friday and Saturday, when you need your best pitching performances, Ole Miss has gone at least 6 innings one time.
Yeah, you're getting into a big enough sample.
You're bringing more bullpen.
Right.
At that point, you have to go to your bullpen more. You're using more arms. And they just have not only taken the steps as freshmen, which is to be expected. You go back and look at it. Drew Pomeranz struggled as a freshman. Lance Lynn was not a starter early on in his career. There's lots of...
It's a tough league.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff here on why those guys... I'm not criticizing the signing class that they're not carrying this team right now. But you don't have a lot of upperclassmen that have taken real jumps. Now they're getting more out of Mitch Morrell than they have in the past. He's been pretty good in the bullpen. But there's not enough of those guys. And then they didn't bring in people who were direct impact arms. And again, lots of reasons for that. Nick Pogue signed a minor league contract. He was supposed to be a weekend starter. He was at Florida last season. And when he decided, most of the premium arms had already chosen their school. He did it so late in the process that it wasn't like, oh, well, now Ole Miss is just not going into the portal. There was no one left in the portal that was a premium arm at that point.
Signed Paul Skeens. I mean,
well, they should have. Yeah, 100%. That would have helped. That would have been a benefit. They just lost out on Watts Brown, who went to Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
and he's been good. I mean, I'm writing about it today. I mean, he was the one true. They went hard after him. It was down to Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Oklahoma State, and he picked the Cowboys. Okay, I mean, and
both Ole Miss and Arkansas could use him right now.
They could use him. Yeah,
I was in Fayetteville on Saturday, and I heard someone talking about Paul Skeens. I mean, Arkansas went after him hard. Like threw a ton of NIL at him. And he went to LSU. And if you change those roles, it's a different deal. LSU's just they're really loaded. Good.
This young pitching staff is also dealing with a much tighter strike zone than previous years. I think it's because of the clock and because umpires are getting graded by TrackMan more quickly.
Yes.
I think it's both of those things.
I do too.
And again, yes, I know somebody's shaking their head going, that's everybody. Yes, but veteran pitchers are going to handle that better than freshmen coming into this league and trying to navigate their way through the league.
You've been pitching high school and travel ball where the zones are typically big.
And you're the best guy out there.
And now you're not the best guy out there and the zone is tight. And you're not getting those 2-3 inches on the outside or the inside or at the top of the zone. and you're having to work fast. You don't have as much time to collect yourself when you feel like you didn't get a call. You're having to go right back into it and pitch, and it's an adjustment period. And this is a brutal league where you face lineups like Florida's and LSU's and
A&M on
A&M. It's a tough league, man. Look around the league. It's a tough league.
Well, and I guess my point is they weren't going deep in games even prior to this competition level.
Getting
they
into
weren't
the
doing
league.
it against the Big Ten teams.
Right.
So the expectation wasn't that suddenly they were going to go 7-8 innings against A&M and Arkansas and teams like that. Look, Ole Miss has a pitching problem. It's very obvious. Can it be solved right now? I don't know. They have to get healthy to have a chance. I don't see a DeLucia just sitting over there that hasn't been chosen yet. I mean, I guess I could be proven wrong, but that doesn't appear to be the same situation. They're going to tinker. They're going to do some things. I would not be stunned at all if JT Quinn doesn't move into the rotation this week. I thought Mike gave that away yesterday when I asked him who was going to start on Tuesday against Southern, and he said he had no idea yet. I think they're going to move Quinn. They'll figure out the Tuesday game against Southern Miss and Pearl and go from there. Quinn gave up 4 runs in 4 innings against Florida, but looked okay doing it. It was kind of a weird game. DeLucia had a couple of those bullpen games last year where you went, that was better than that was, if you will. Like when you watch the stuff, it was okay.
What are they running into against A&M?
Well, they're learning to Detmer on Friday, who's got a live arm and could be dominant, but has not put it together at all.
Right.
A guy who's gotten beat around, has not thrown strikes, has really struggled with the clock, and they're looking at an A&M offense that might have had more position player All-SEC preseason guys than any other team in the conference, but they've really struggled. It's been their best players who have not played well to this point. I think they're being most affected by their pace of play versus the clock and getting sped up and not being able to do what they kind of want to do as a program. But it's going to be a tall task. I mean, it's a hard place to play in College Station. They've got a lot of experienced bats in that lineup. And, yeah, JT Quinn's another freshman. There's just no experience anywhere where you're pulling guys out. I mean, I had the stat. Ole Miss players who pitched 10 or more innings last year, or even at any Division I school last year, Mason Nichols and Jack Doherty. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 pitchers that Ole Miss is using that have thrown 10 or more innings in a previous season.
Does it become a situation in 2 or 3 weeks if things don't go great that you say, hey, it's time to give guys some seasoning to figure out, A, what you have, and B, get guys ready for next year? I mean, it's a little early to say that.
Yeah, not yet.
But, like, if this weekend goes badly, you've got to start thinking about program over team.
Well, what you got to do right now is figure out a role that can give Grayson Saunier some confidence. Because, look, I get he has not looked like people have billed. I mean, Mike Bianco does not give out those compliments very often. He said he had a better fall than any freshman he's ever seen. He's talented. He's going to win games at the college level. He is a freshman. And not all freshmen get there as quickly as other freshmen do.
Of course.
Figure out a role that he can gain some confidence, whether that's the back of the end of the bullpen, whether that's a Tuesday starter. I don't know. At this point, you need him to feel good about the situation. You need to use him. I think Quinn has earned a weekend start to see what happened relative to what everything else is going on inside that rotation and that team right now. I guess my point is, I think in some ways that's what's happening organically without necessarily doing that, is you're using Tokoyan in a lot of high leverage roles to see if he can handle those. You're using, if they move Saunier around, and I'm right on that prediction as they've got going on, you give Quinn a weekend start, you're seeing those freshmen and going, hey, here, trial by fire, learn from it, see where it goes, because it's just also their best option right now. It's where, and look, I guess this is possible, but I don't think it's what's in Mike's head. Part of me wonders if you don't just move Doherty to the bullpen to put him back in his best role to try to win a game if you have the lead and can get to him instead of starting him. I get that it's a gamble, but at the end of the day, maybe that's the play, is to go, hey, I've got this guy who can be very dominant at the end of games. Let's just put him where he's supposed to be and try to figure the rest out.
Because they could have used him. They would have won a game probably had they had him in the back of the bullpen.
Now, the argument to that is he started the game that put him in position to win the game late. That's the problem with that.
Yeah. Mike's not listening, but if he were, he would say, there's just no perfect option on the menu. If there were, I would have selected it.
And look, I'm not putting it at his feet. at all. I mean, he's trying. But Mason Nichols struggling is a worst-case scenario for this team because he was the one bullpen guy they thought they had. Because, Mike caught criticism on Saturday in that game one. Mitch Morrell had thrown really well, had gone 2.1 innings without allowing a hit. He had shut Florida down, gave Ole Miss a lot of momentum. They built the 3-run lead. It was only at 31 pitches. Pitch count was still pretty low. And he went to Nichols in the 8th to get 6 outs and a save. On paper, I completely understand what he was doing. You don't want Morrell to see a second time through the order. It's not something he's really been through before. He did his job. He got them to their bullpen ace at that point, and then they blew the game.
Yeah, Mike had to look at it at the time and go, hey, I asked him to do this, and he did it. Now I got to go to the next guy. It might have been as simple as I don't feel like I asked him to do this. He did it. Now I'm going to ask for something else right now. And then he doesn't do that, and he views it as failure. And it is different when a lineup
comes back around
and they see a pitcher a second time. It is totally different. I saw the criticism. I thought it was unwarranted. You got to your closer, hey, go give me 6 outs, and he couldn't do it. And that happens.
He doesn't have much of an out pitch right now. His velo's a touchdown. It's just stuff. Mike is frustrated with his pitchers right now in a lot of different ways. But in some ways, I don't feel like it's even like last year where he was almost kind of panicked because he saw so many answers and couldn't get to them.
Yeah.
In some ways, he kind of goes, "That's what I got."
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much energy you can put into that at that point and see what you see and know what you have.
I mean, sometimes it's just not in the cards. You know what I mean? I mean, this might be that year where you're just not good enough.
But if there is a path, it is Quinn being decent and it's Elliott getting healthy. That's your path.
And if there's a path, it starts this weekend.
It does.
You hate to put the pressure on people, but it starts this weekend.
Because you've got a young team. You can't 1-8. I mean, they're seeing.
Yeah, 1-8. Arkansas comes to town. Arkansas is going to be motivated to get you. Then after that, you got to go to state.
Well, that's a good point because that's going to be a rivalry they haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and Arkansas.
That's going to be a tough Saturday for Saunier or Quinn or whoever takes the ball and goes, "Oh, this is different."
Yeah, they're going to want. Yeah, and then after
State, LSU.
After State, then it's LSU, and LSU is so good that they can absolutely take your confidence and rip it apart, tear it into shreds, light it on fire, and laugh at it. Their lineup is just brutal.
JM asking why you have to start your best pitcher. You don't. I mean, you can pitch backwards.
The risk is if you fall behind and you never get to use him with the game in hand.
Yeah, he never pitches in a consequential inning is the problem there. And in college baseball, it's so built on emotion. There is something to a Friday arm taking the ball and giving you sort of a jump start to the weekend. But and when you don't have one of those, because frankly, as fans, you haven't seen that much. Ole Miss almost always has an ace that can go get that opener. It's a freaking struggle when you don't have one.
Arkansas is doing this right now with Hagen Smith, who's probably their best arm, and they're using him in a swing capacity, and it's worked twice for them. He came in and they beat LSU on Friday with him pitching like what he throw 80 pitches, and that was a great game. But it's just hard.
By the way, the Jack Caglianone for Florida is one hell of a baseball player. He was fun to watch all weekend. He's the best two-way player in the league since Stephen Head. He's phenomenal. Maybe nationally since that Louisville kid that I'm forgetting his name a few years ago. So. They're Florida's real. Florida's real.
I mean, it's the other part. Ole Miss has played 2 really good teams. Vanderbilt's very good. We get a little obsessed with some of their offensive numbers, aren't whatever, but they'll pitch you to the point where you don't have to have great offense. It's just a loaded league. I mean, Dylan Cruz down there at LSU hitting just missiles everywhere, just missiles.
Yeah, Mikey Matuk calls him the best player in LSU history.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I mean, that's...
And they got other dudes that are in the same ballpark with him. Not as good as he is, obviously, but really good players.
And Skeens has been much better than I thought he was going to be. I was wrong.
Yeah, he's electric.
He is. He's phenomenal.
He's upper 90s, and they bring in guys out of the bullpen throwing 100. Their second and third starters are still very solid. They're really, really good. They're 4-2, but don't judge their record. They're the best team in the league.
Just quickly, as we close today's show, the weekend series this week, if you want to watch around for some games, South Carolina is at Mississippi State. Gamecocks have played pretty well so far this season.
Oof.
They're in Starkville. Georgia is at Vanderbilt.
What will the crowd be in Starkville?
It's been dwindling quickly.
Yeah.
Lamona's taking all the heat, saying it's his fault. I've talked to people around college baseball and goes, they have talent. They're just Lamona's is getting into this issue, in my opinion. Not source, but I'm going to ask people this week because I wonder about it with several teams. We've gotten so obsessed with velocity that are people stopping and going, can they pitch? And the answer is not yes in a lot of ways, especially with this strike zone change that nobody necessarily expected. Nobody knew to plan for this, and it's affected things. You're throwing into a much tighter zone. And
they thought they'd have the zone from
pitch,
last year where you had this huge zone. It was so big.
No. Georgia's at Vanderbilt. Good luck, Bulldogs.
Have fun.
Auburn is at Florida. Good luck, Tigers.
Yeah.
Auburn does not look good right now.
No, just go get one if you're
Ole Miss,
Auburn.
A&M, Tennessee in Baton Rouge this weekend.
Sign me up.
Yeah. See how that one goes. Balls are
They looked good over the weekend.
They did. Alabama and Arkansas in Fayetteville. It's a big weekend for Alabama.
Yeah. They yeah.
And
feels like that's 2 out of 3 for the Hogs.
And then my eyes are not deceiving me. Number 22 Missouri at number 23 Kentucky. Kentucky ranked this week after getting off to a 5-1 start in the SEC. Congrats to them because I thought they were the worst team in the league and it wasn't close. But they swept the Bulldogs, beating them up, and then took 2 out of 3 from Alabama, winning 4-3, 9-5, and losing 4-3 in that one. So.
No, both of those teams are a little better than people thought they were going to be. The top part of the league is really, really good.
It is.
And if you're Ole Miss, you got to feel that's the one solace you can take out of this is that you've played 2 of those teams.
Yeah. So, anyway, back tomorrow with another show. We'll continue to discuss football and whatever else comes up throughout the week. Again, football practice resuming tomorrow from a media standpoint. So check rebelgrove.com. In the meantime, stay safe, and we'll talk to you then.